and welcome to North River Resources, and this is a virtual site visit to the Namib lead zinc mine, which will take about 20 minutes, and we'll give you a tour of the mine and a quick presentation about it. My name is Martin French and I'm the Managing Director of North River Resources.
And I'm Dominic Claridge, the Project Manager for Namib.
So here we are approaching the mine. The asset was bought by Kalahari Minerals in 2007, who did quite a lot of surface drilling on it, and then North River bought the project from Kalahari in 2009, and we really started work properly on the project to reopen this historic mine in 2011. Just coming up there on the left past our signage is the airstrip for the project.
The mine started in 1968 as a lead operation, and in 1974 they discovered that there was zinc in the ore, so they started putting in a zinc concentration flotation circuit, and then in 1984 it became predominantly a zinc mine. It ran up until 1991, producing lead and zinc concentrates. The mine is accessed historically via a shaft which goes down 150 metres to the 5 level. Mining methods were shrink stoping, gallery stoping with a little bit of open stoping. In the mid-1980s they put in 2 declines, one into the southern ore lodes which goes down 220 metres, and a short decline down to the 1 level on the northern lodes.
And then North River dewatered the mine. There's some historic pictures, by the way, of the old headgear and plant of about 15 million litres of water which had flooded the bottom 3 levels of the mine. We surveyed it, we 3D mapped it, we channel sampled it, we cleared all the old scrap out of the shafts and also cleared the site.
You're looking at the 1992 closure plan. On the right hand side is the southern workings, the decline going down 220 level, which is the 8 level, and they clearly designed additional levels down to 10 level with an incline shaft. On the left hand side you can see the decline going down just to the 1 level with the historic reserve lodes that they called them back then, and we're starting to mine that just as the mine closed in 1991.
So here's an aerial view of the site as it is today. That's the big tailings dump obviously in the background, and we've now become quite a busy site. We've put a lot of workshops in, and these are the drill crews. The mine, because it was a mine, is on very good infrastructure. Not only do we have very good road infrastructure, but we also have a railway line that runs through the site, a water pipeline that runs just adjacent to us, and a power spur that goes directly from the main grid right out to the mine.
Here is our access point to the mine site. It's about an 8-kilometre drive from the dirt road down to the Trans-Kalahari. We're looking at 2 alternatives to getting our concentrates to the port of Walvish Bay versus the road, straight tipper trucks, and the second is using the rail line. The rail line is the main line that runs between Windhoek and Walvish Bay port. The 2 lines on the left is the traditional Namib rail siding that was used during the days when it was operating. The shed here is at the port of Walvish Bay. It's a dedicated concentrate shed. Those little hoppers on the left hand side you can feed directly onto the ship loader.
And here obviously is the water pipeline that runs down to the big Rossing open pit uranium project. We've applied for water from NAM Water, and we've been given a verbal approval that water will be available, and we should be following that up with a proper approval quite soon. Now there's some interesting wildlife coming up. If you have a look at that bush right to the left, and right now, bang, that's called a scrub hare, which is about twice the size of a normal rabbit and about 4 times as fast. He obviously thinks he's being chased by a large predator. And the camera now is turning along the Rossing Mountains in the background there towards our mine site, which is about 7 kilometres away. And here is the Rossing mine. We were invited there the other day very kindly by Rio, and we shot that footage. And this is the power spur that runs directly to our mine site.
You can see in the background the old tailings dams heaped up, and in the front of that is the new tailings dam that was built in 1995-96 for the tailings reprocessing. There's a couple of water catchment dams. The dam is being designed by Epoch. You'll see design shortly. It's designed for a 7-year mine life, 1.5 million tonnes with an approximate 1 metre rise per annum. Having the dam already partially built saves us quite considerably on capex and opex. There's nothing inside the dam, we don't need to grub it and clear it, it's basically solid rock underneath.
And that same rock also has served us very well underground. The old underground mine is very competent or strong. We've recently started excavating a new drive down there. We've had to put in relatively light infrastructure, and the mine also doesn't require support, which is a huge advantage. Turning now to the geology, we're very pleased to have Dr. Neil Reynolds from CSA Global in Australia acting as a consultant to the company. Oh, there are some of the new tailings designs, by the way. Neil has studied lead zinc ore deposits all over the world, and he recently spent a week with us on site at Namib. And here he is going to give us a brief introduction as to the formation of the mineralogy at our mine site.
Okay, well, we're in a high-grade metamorphic terrain here, which is in this particular area is dominated by metamorphosed limestone rocks, carbonate rocks, which have been recrystallized to form coarse marbles like this rock here, which is like the sort of marble you would use in a tabletop. These carbonates of various kinds host very common host rocks for lead zinc deposits. Limestones in the US host the Mississippi Valley type deposits, and some of the biggest deposits in Ireland are hosted in limestones. This particular type of carbonate hosted deposit is a high temperature replacement, which is probably related to magmatic fluids. And in this instance, it's replacing a marble which had probably already been metamorphosed, and it's been introduced into the marble by structural conduits that have brought the hot mineralizing fluids in to precipitate sulfide minerals. This is an example of high-grade massive sulfide, quite heavy and dense, which is made up mostly of pyrrhotite and sphalerite. So this would be running quite high grades of zinc and smaller amounts of lead and silver. This is a direct replacement of the marble precursor. So that is, in a nutshell, how these deposits form. There's a favourable horizon of marble which has been infiltrated by these mineralizing fluids at high temperatures and generated these pods of extremely high grade massive sulfide mineralization.
And now we're going to take a look at what's happening underground. This is one of our drill crews going down for their shift down the mine portal, and here we are taking a look from the helicopter down into the mine portal. Now, as the camera comes down close to the mine, if you have a look at the area just above the mine entrance up by the fence there, you can see very clearly how very thin the cover is. There's only about 2 inches of cover around most of the mine site, particularly where we're going to be doing our construction, which is very useful. And also we're getting a close-up look at the rocks.
We're quite fortunate that the host carbonate rocks are extremely structurally competent. We got John James from Keltis Geotechnical from Southern Africa to do a full review of our geotechnical work, and he's advocating any ground support whatsoever within the mining operation going forward. Historically, the mine has no ground support, almost 100% extraction rate within the ore bodies.
This is a slide of our 3D mapping underground, and those bright yellow and green shapes are the mined out ore stopes. So those are voids underground, but they give you a very accurate reflection of the shape of the ore bodies, which, as you can see, are quite erratic. And those are the old mine workings, the drives and the stopes. Here's a photograph of one of those voids, those ore chutes. That's about 5 meters wide. And here's another one. So you can see some of the ore shapes are quite long and slim. And those voids are about 100 meters deep. Now, as we go further down the mine, we're going to talk a little bit about the old surface drilling and the new area that we're opening up. This is a shot taken by a skydiver recently. And those colourful dots are the 3D schematics we just saw. So those are the old mine workings, while these red and green dots that have just come up are schematics of the old surface drill programs. there was about 18,000 meters, and most of those green and red dots are adjacent to a line, brown line running away to the left from the old mine workings, and those are the northern lodes. Those are the gossans on surface, and this is a new area that we're going to be focusing on. This graphic you're seeing now shows that from section on the ground on the right hand side you've got the golden mined out stopes with the drives, etc., and on the left hand side these are the new model shapes that have been drawn up by the resource geologists, and these show the ore bodies which we're going to be mining on the northern section, with around 18,000 meters of drilling, much of which was done by Kalahari in 2008. So the of those shapes, the red areas is the indicated ore and the green is the inferred, and we'll be doing some infill drilling very shortly to take that inferred into indicated. And at the bottom of the mine on the right there, we see we've got about 150,000 tonnes of mainly indicated material, much of which is exposed, and this will form the early part of our mining strategy to bring this to surface and put on the ROM pad prior to the commencement of the processing plant. And further to the right of that, we see some long drill holes in turquoise there from surface. And this drilling was actually done in the 1950s and 60s. And you can see some red dots there to the right of the stopes. And those are historic intersections, some of which we've put into the boxes in yellow to show you the grades of those intersections. And also right beneath the mine is some of the drilling we've done very recently, again with some very good intersections. Here we're spinning our 3D Surpac model around to give you a better idea of the orientation of the ore underground. And in order to start to verify deep ore underneath this structure, we embarked on a downhole electromagnetic survey last summer, which came up with some very good results. There you can see the rectangles drawn on of the plates by Southern Geoscience, who did the interpretation for us, and some of their responses were extremely good. We drilled 3 deep holes, and we opened up 3 existing historic holes in order to drop the probe down underneath the mine, and as a consequence we've embarked on a new drill program to prove up resources and reserves deep under the mine, which you can see there on the right, and also on the left we have commenced a tunnel, which is a 300-meter tunnel under the northern lodes, and you can see from the drill design that we'll be drilling down underneath the northern lodes to prove up deeper ore under those, and also to drill upwards as part of our infill drilling program. And in line with that, there's also an old drive about 20 meters below surface at north, and you can see some of the drill designs there, again to do some infill drilling into those northern lodes. And finally, here's another graphic of the drill design at the bottom of the historic mine at south, and those in grey are the declines and drives from the historic mine, which, as you can see, we're just driving down now to that area you just saw to have a look at the drill program in action. As you can see, the guys behind me are starting to bring out some core from some drilling they've just been doing. This is from our Kempe drill. We decided to buy our own underground drill called a Kempe, which means we can continuously drill come what may. And we've trained our own guys who've been working for us for some years to retrain them as drillers, which is going very well. And this particular drill has been coming out with some fantastic results. It's doing some shallow holes. Right now we're at 8 level, 220 meters below surface. And what we found when we dewatered the mine, and about the bottom 3 levels of the mine were filled with water, is we washed it out. We took what are called channel samples from the walls, and they're very large exposed areas of ore down here under the mine where the old miners 22 years ago were mining ahead. So there's nothing wrong with the mine itself. And some of these ore bodies are quite spectacular, grading up to 20%. And we've been following these ore bodies down with this drill. The ore bodies are quite erratic, so really the only way to find them is by doing shallow drilling and figuring out where they move, so that we can then bring in the bigger Atlas drill round the corner to start drilling the deeper holes onto that. And here we have Edwin Duarte. He is our country head in Namibia and is also our chief geologist on site. Edwin used to work at Rosh Pinna, the mine we just saw.
This one is say 30% zinc, because you can see that's solarite here, and galena is the shiny bit. The galena is the shiny bit here. So we're talking about say 20% zinc and say 15% lead.
And as we mentioned previously, we're going to drive, or we've actually just commenced driving a tunnel underneath the northern lodes, where we're going to be drilling up into the lodes, some infill drilling, and then some infill and exploratory drilling from beneath the lodes. And this tunnel, which we can see is being constructed here, will also be used not only as an exploration drive, but when the mine is open, it will be used as one of the working drives for the mine. We've also been putting a lot of infrastructure underground.
You're looking at the magazines and explosives magazines and a detonator magazine, which have been permitted by the government. And here are some temporary ventilation walls to get primary ventilation down to the bottom of the mine where we're drilling and doing the excavation. The mine's been made relatively safe. We've put signs up, we've marked the walls where we can't blast.
And here we are going down into the other mine portal. We have two mine portals, and this is the northern mine portal. The northern lodes weren't mined by the previous operators, but they were planning to do so. And this mine decline is relatively short, it's 150 metres, whereas the southern decline, which we were looking at earlier, is 1.5 kilometres. However, this decline is a bit wider and probably needs a little bit less stripping. And now this shot is coming up over those northern lodes. You remember from the aerial photograph, these are the lodes which are along strike. And as we come over the lip of this dike, you can see the mine in the background. And what we're looking at are a load of gossans on surface, which are above those northern lodes and the resource shapes that we just saw.
Going forward, our mining methods are probably going to be a bit more mechanised than historically, although we will still have some traditional shrink stoping in where the ore bodies are a little bit smaller, some up-dip stoping, down-dip stoping where there's mines are narrow. But essentially we'll be going mechanised truck haulage to surface now. We're not using the shaft. The shaft is going to be purely used for services and downcast ventilation. A new ventilation fan will be installed. You can see the little vent fan on the right-hand side. Water tanks, power line services are all ready to be recommissioned.
And now we're flying over the old tailings dumps. And one of the things you can see from here is a lot of the materials being taken out in an attempt to reprocess the dumps in the 1990s rather. And we've rated the material still there at around about 700,000 tonnes. And you can see a good 20–30% has been taken out of that, which lends extra confidence to our figure, which we've collated from old records, that around about 1 million tonnes was taken out of the old mine. And that's very relevant when we're looking at tonnes per vertical metre and what we expect to find beneath the mine, where we're drilling another 200 metres below surface. Here's some more shots of the core, and here's the core logging area on surface and into the core shed. which is a pretty good piece of helicopter flying, I might add. And here you can see two holes which are laid out side by side. These are 150-metre holes. And there, John Andrew, one of our consulting geologists, with Dr. Neil Reynolds, are looking at actually the host marble. And from that, they can try and ascertain how close that host marble is to the mineralisation. Because this is very strata bound. Even though it's very deformed, the stratas have a lot of integrity. And so understanding the different types of marble is really, really important for knowing how close you are to the mineralisation when they're drilling. And this is what we're after. This is a 23-metre intersection which we had quite recently. It's quite high grade, it's around about 15%, and this came from under the floor of the old mine. And this gives us a lot of confidence that the ore bodies are continuing down en masse and with very good grades, at least as high as the head grades they previously found. And now we're looking at another aerial shot where we've drawn on our EPL and within that the mining license area. And superimposed on that are near mine targets that we've identified from a helicopter VTEM electromagnetic survey we flew in 2012, and that's obviously the results of the survey. And there, those numbered areas are ones which Dr. Reynolds has identified as near mine targets. And now we're moving out from the mine out into the exploration areas.
It's anticipated that we're going to find numerous other gossans. Historical work by ISCOR Corporation identified well over 100. There's our new exploration license, the Blue Line, and there's hundreds literally of gossans outcropping on surface with potential mineralised ore bodies lying beneath. A lot of those were identified in the VTEM survey, but a lot of them are also structurally defined and haven't been shown up on the VTEM survey.
Yeah, and so we're now in the process of drawing up an advanced mining exploration plan, I should say. This gossan is called Gossan 97, and there actually is Dominic to give it a bit of scale. And you can say the size of these gossans are not dissimilar to those northern gossans that we were flying over recently, which produced obviously some pretty good results from the drilling. Now we're looking at the area where we're planning to build the plants, and as you can see, a lot of it's been cleared.
The process plant design is quite simple. The ore is non-abrasive and very soft. It's a single stage impact crusher through a screening house into a 450 kilowatt small bore mill. From there it goes into sequential flotation circuit lead and zinc through to final thickening and final concentrates. The process plant is very simplistic, off-the-shelf equipment, very quick and cheap to build.
Now we've completed our environmental reports and studies, and those have been submitted to the ministry just before Christmas actually. Now we're looking at one of the very rare plants we have on site. These are lithops, otherwise known as a living rock, and they're designed to look like pebbles so that they don't get eaten by birds, etc. It's very rare to find them. It's even rarer to find them flowering. They're something of a geologist's dream because they're very fussy apparently about what type of rock they grow next to, and that varies from area to area. They're very interesting old plants. And here we are driving away from the site. This is on our dirt road. It's about 8 kilometres long and joins the mine to the Trans-Kalahari Highway. It's in very good shape. It's on flat land. We've driven at 60 to 70 kilometres an hour along here. We're going to do some grading work to take our trucks, but again, it's another asset we have that's in very good shape. And that concludes our visit to the Namib lead zinc silver mine. Thank you for joining us, and if you're interested in some of the aerial footage, it was done on a helicopter drone by this chap who we found in Swakopmund, and here he is with his dog. So we very much hope that some of you may be able to join us on site physically at some point in the future, and thank you from North River Resources.